Climate change is top of mind for many voters in this election. Parties have all laid out their emissions reduction goals. The Liberals now targeting a 40 to 45% reduction. Conservatives sticking with the original Paris climate target of 30%, and the NDP targeting a 50% reduction. So how to hit those targets? Well, it depends on who you ask. Jonathan Wilkinson is a BC Liberal candidate. He is in Vancouver. Dan Albas is a BC Conservative candidate, and he's in Summerland, BC. And Daniel Blakey is a Manitoba NDP candidate, speaking to us from Winnipeg. Mr. Wilkinson, first question to you, because you have a record to run on. It's your government that's coming out. You say that you are on track to hit the targets, but the targets you're on track to hit are the old targets, the 30% ones. Where do you stand now on the likelihood of hitting the 40 to 45%? Can you confidently say that will happen?
Yeah, I can. And we are on track to hit the 40 to 45%. I mean, we brought forward a strengthened climate plan in December. We followed that up with additional investments in the budget 2021. And we've made a number of commitments in this platform. I will tell you that Professor Mark Jacquard of SFU, who assessed all of the parties' platforms, said that we are very likely to achieve that 40 to 45% goal based on that. So it's external experts that are actually validating it.
Okay, the expert you're talking about said going to 45% would also cost the Canadian economy 2.5% of its GDP. That's a significant hit.
Well, and certainly Professor Jacquard, in terms of his assessment, looked at a whole range of factors. I would say that the one thing that even the Environment Canada model doesn't do very well is pick up the innovation that will happen through mechanisms like pricing on pollution. So, we think this is going to be done in a manner that actually will be good for the economy long term. But it certainly is far more ambitious in terms of, and far more aligned with our allies and with the science than what we see from the Conservative Party, who continue to say that they're actually going to achieve the Paris targets. The Paris target is not 30%. It is 40 to 45, and they're simply not telling the truth if they're saying that.
Okay, let me turn to the Conservative candidate here and speak to him. Dan Albas, I am a little bit confused about where things stand, and the reason why is your leader, Aaron O'Toole, spoke to the Toronto Star editorial board, and he said the Liberals' carbon price won't automatically get scrapped if he's Prime Minister. But the platform says the opposite, that it would scrap the Liberal government's consumer carbon tax. Do you know which of those two it is?
So when I came on this show in April after the launch of the Secure the Environment platform, I said very clearly to Vashi at the time, Vashi, Aaron O'Toole will sit down with every premier because we want to collaborate with them. And if they feel they have a better carbon pricing mousetrap, we will go with what works best. We shouldn't be fighting over who's on first base. We should be talking about how can we achieve the 30% reduction targets that were agreed to, not just by the previous Harper government and the Trudeau government that took it to Paris, but by every province and territory. We want to work together with provinces. We don't want to make them where you treat some provinces differently. Mr. Wilkinson seems to want to create more division in this country. We want an all hands on deck approach, and we want to hit those targets while getting people back to work.
Okay, so what happens if a province doesn't want what you're proposing? What happens then?
Well, we've said all provinces have agreed by 2022 to have a $50 a ton carbon price. Now, they haven't agreed to the $170 a ton carbon price that Minister Wilkinson has said that they're going to impose on the Canadian economy. But we will work with them if they have an equivalent regime, because we respect provinces. They have most of the levers when it comes to fighting climate change, like natural resources, transportation, housing, energy policy. So we need to work with them. We can't be always making them, they should be partners, not punching bags.
Okay, why 30%? Because that is the old target. I know you call it the original target or whatever, but it isn't the target anymore. It is now somewhere between 40 and 45%. That's what we've promised the world. And while there's no punishment if we don't fulfill that obligation, we are going backwards. Why go backwards?
Well, in May, in their budget on a Monday, they had it at 36%. Then less than 5 days later, they switched it to 40 to 45% without any consultation with the provinces. Look, like I
but this
said,
isn't
many
about
of the
them.
levers
It's
to
about
fight climate
what the
change are at
Conservatives
the
will do.
provincial level. And so we need to have a clear, collaborative approach because it's all hands on deck. And Aaron O'Toole is not going to we want to see a recovery in every part of this country in all sectors. Instead, when the minister was asked about what his plans were to hit that 40 to 45% at the press conference, he said, well, maybe we'll look at methane in 2025. That's not working with all of Canada. That's just a very narrow approach, and we think we can do better.
I want to turn to the NDP platform here for a moment and talk to Daniel Blakey. 50% is the greenhouse gas reduction target in the NDP platform, but there isn't a lot of detail on actually how you get there. And I look at the former BC Green Party leader, Andrew Weaver, who looked at the various options before him and actually went for the Liberal plan, not for the NDP plan, because he didn't see it as achievable, that the specifics weren't there. Why does the platform not indicate how you would get to 50%?
Well, we've talked a lot over the years about how we can get serious about climate action. We've talked about retrofitting homes and buildings. We've talked about investment in active and public transportation. We've talked about trying to switch as much as possible to renewable generation of electricity, and that can happen through different kinds of nation building projects like a power grid in Western Canada. So a platform document is meant to try and indicate where we want to go and some of the ways that we want to do that. But all anyone has to do is look at the record in the House of Commons over the last number of years to see all the many kinds of solutions that we've been putting forward on how we can be far more ambitious. And I think if you're an everyday Canadian who's concerned about climate change, which you've been watching over the last 6 years, as a government that has talked a lot about climate change, you can't say that they haven't talked about it. But when you're looking at the results and you see that Canada's emissions are climbing faster than anybody in the G7, when you see that we continue to subsidize the fossil fuel industry to a great extent, then it's hard to feel like Canada is really making progress, because on the numbers, we're not. And so Liberals keep moving the goalposts down the road as to when they're going to get serious about climate action and when they're actually going to start meeting some of their targets. But what people are seeing is that we're blowing through targets. We're not actually getting to do these things. So I think the principal thing that New Democrats want to bring to Ottawa and to government is the political will to start actually moving the ball forward on these things instead of just talking about them, because we don't want to be talking about the Liberals' next great plan 10 years from now. It'll be far too late.
All right, we'll have to leave it there with the three of you. Thank you very much for your thoughts on greenhouse gas emission reduction. Certainly appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.